Today on TV Glints, recap Season 2 of Locke and Key. It's the last week of summer before school starts, and everyone is excited about the premiere of the Savini squad's film, The Splattering. Kinsey meets Scot for the first time in weeks, and there's tension between them ever since Scot decided he didn't want to date Kinsey at the same time as Gabe. While everyone is watching the film, Eden steps out to get a bite and ends up murdering the popcorn vendor. Gabe follows after and scolds her for her reckless actions before they proceed to hide the body. Just as they are exiting the hall, Nina catches a glimpse of them and is momentarily confused by what she saw before she predictably forgets the magical occurrence after a few seconds. At the after party, Tyler realizes that Jackie is losing all her memories related to the key and deduces that the cause is her upcoming 18th birthday, where she'll officially become an adult. Meanwhile, Gabe questions Kinsey regarding the history of the keys and how they were made. She claims that she doesn't know much about it and mentions that the only person who knows more about the keys is the ghost of their great-great-grandfather, Chamberlain Locke. So Gabe heads over to the Keyhouse and tricks Bode into letting him try out the ghost key so that he can find out how to make the keys himself. Chamberlain tells him that the keys are made with the help of whispering iron, the cool-down demon bullets that miss everyone. It also requires the forger to keep in mind the true intention meant for the key during the process, as well as a blood sacrifice. Nina gets a job restoring the theater of the Matheson Academy, and over there, she meets the new history professor, Josh Bennett. While their initial meeting is quite frosty, they eventually get along after Bode becomes friends with Josh's daughter, Jamie. Kinsey heads over to the psychiatric hospital for her weekly meeting with Erin, and remembers that she and the other keepers of the keys had figured out how to keep their memories even after becoming adults. She calls up Tyler and together they decide to go inside Erin's head to find out more. They meet her younger self while trapped inside and finally help her get out after 20 long years. Bode comes across yet another key and finds out the purpose when he visits Jamie's place with his mother. Josh has a miniature model of Keyhouse, and when the key is put in, they can see exactly what's happening in the house and even physically influence what's happening. Gabe notices that Kinsey and Scot are getting close together again. With Eden controlling him, Scot starts a fight with Gabe, and despite pleading his innocence, everyone shuns him for his action. Erin moves into the key house till her trust fund comes in, and over there she meets Duncan, who is apprehensive of her because he doesn't have too many memories of her. She asks Kinsey and Tyler if she can put Duncan's memory back inside his head because she feels responsible for why he doesn't remember his childhood. They agree to do it, but once they do, Duncan gets serious migraines because his brain is having a tough time processing the old memories. Gabe tries to forge his own key with Eden's blood, but the key doesn't work as intended. He goes back to confront Chamberlain, who tells him that only a Locke can forge a magical key. At the academy, Tyler takes Jackie to Bath, England, as an early birthday present. But while they are there, she blanks out and begs to be taken back. Erin proposes they use the memory key that Duncan had forged to fix his mental state and offers to search her head for the memory of Randall Locke, hiding the key so that they can look for it. The memory points them towards the Matheson Academy, and Gabe joins on the search to grab the key for himself, after Kinsey and Tyler tell him that Duncan is able to forge keys. While they are at the college, Kinsey heads to a party to apologize to Scot after she had said some harsh words to him after his fight with Gabe. She starts to regret so many of her decisions after she decides to put the embodiment of her fear back in her head. At the party, she meets a very drunk Eden and decides to go into her head and find out why she's been acting so suspicious lately. Inside her head, it's finally revealed to them that Eden was hit by a whispering iron and that Gabe is actually Dutch. Bode uses the Anywhere to visit Nebraska to meet Rufus, who tells him that he saw two Dutches before he passed out the night Ellie disappeared. The other realizes that the Dutch they threw beyond the black door must have been Ellie in the form of Dutch. At Winterfest, everyone decides to behave like everything is normal so that Gabe doesn't suspect them. He hovers over Kinsey at her booth, probing her about whether the memory key worked on Duncan or not. When Duncan asks Erin about the latest key they find, she lies to them, stating that she has no knowledge of it. Later on, she steals the key and leaves a letter for Duncan explaining that she's heading to Winterfest to finish Gabe once and for all. Duncan gets there before her using the Anywhere key, and this is noticed by Eden, who in turn informs Gabe. Gabe, Eden, Duncan, Erin, Kinsey, Tyler and Bode all end up in the maze looking for each other. While the others regroup, Erin tries to trap Gabe with the chain key, but it's overpowered by Eden before Gabe kills her. The others find her body just as it's being swallowed into the ground because of the tree key. The Locke family bid farewell to Erin and then plan to set a trap for Gabe using all their keys and Duncan as a bait. With the help of Scot, they invite Gabe to Keyhouse under the pretense of shooting the sequel to their film. He shows up with Eden, but they separate the two according to their plan. However, just before they can succeed, the whole situation turns over its head and Gabe manages to escape with Duncan and Bode. Duncan is forced to forge a key that turns anyone into a demon in exchange for keeping Bode safe. Gabe uses the new demon key on Javi and then orders his new minion to kill Duncan and Bode after he lets them go. They manage to escape as the other gets there just in time. In a flashback in the year 1775, Captain Frederick Gideon, along with a group of the Queen's army, raid the Keyhouse and its inhabitants, as they believe there are weapons being made in there. He threatens to burn the family alive, but before he can do that, Sebastian Locke arrives with the revolutionary soldiers who manage to drive the redcoats away, although not before Gideon murders the Locke family patriarch. As they are being chased, Gideon and two of his soldiers find themselves in the sea cave, where he hears the voices whispering from the wall and comes across the opening to the beyond. While they are making the last stand against the revolutionaries, Gideon witnesses one of his men gain supernatural strength after being hit by a whispering iron, and decides to voluntarily lend himself to be hit as well. He is ultimately captured and chained in the well house, where he records what he saw and stashes it along with a piece of whispering iron that he had picked up. Back in the cave, Sebastian Locke and his sister contemplate how they can close the pathway when Sebastian hears the whispering iron on the floor. He realizes what he's got in his hand and decides to forge a key and lock from it to keep the pathway sealed, finally finding his calling like his father had prophesied before his death. In the present, Josh Bennett, who is actually a descendant of Gideon, in possession of his journal and was researching the story of the Black Door, receives an offer from Eden to take him there. When they reach the door, they are met by Gabe, who uses the Crown of Shadows to bring down the roof. Both Eden and Josh manage to get out of there in time. Kinsey and Taylor set out to warn their friends about the oncoming trouble as Gabe is turning people into demons using the key. Javi and some other minions grab Kinsey and bring her to Gabe, who proposes that she willingly turn and join his side, but she refuses. Tyler is not able to save Jackie as she has already been turned before he can get to her, and this leaves him distraught. He convinces himself that a key can be made to cure Jackie as well as the other demons, and finds a piece of whispering iron that his father had hidden away in case of an emergency. The iron only whispers to him, and Duncan states that it means he's the one who has to forge the key. With Duncan's help, Tyler manages to forge the Alpha. Tyler heads out there and manages to use the key on Jackie, but unfortunately it kills the demon as well as her. He wants to take revenge on Gabe immediately, but Kinsey stops him, claiming that she has a plan to defeat him. While Gabe is beginning to set his plan in motion, Kinsey shows up at the mansion. She berates him and says that she will never willfully join him. She walks up to the edge of the cliff and jumps off before using a harness and a new key she found that gives her wings. The distraction allows Tyler, Scot, and Duncan to go down the vault and steal the demon key. While Duncan uses the fire key to get into the vault, Scot and Tyler hold off the demons. They manage to steal the key and get out, but Kinsey flies back in to battle Gabe, who has now turned back into Dutch. She's about to be overwhelmed by Dutch when Tyler comes back and uses the Alpha key to defeat Dutch. He and Kinsey get out just before the whole house falls off the cliff. From the wreckage, the Echo of Lucas climbs out and returns the key back to the Locke family. After the roof was brought down by the shadows in the sea cave, the Black Door was knocked open, which allowed Ellie to escape from the other side. She was still stuck in the form of Dutch, but she closes the door and gets out, heads over the Keyhouse. There she meets Bode, who, after confirming that it's actually Ellie, calls the other and asks them to come home soon. Once they arrive, they give Ellie the identity key so that she can go back to being herself, and they all rejoice with her return. A week later, once everything has settled down, Tyler is getting ready to go on a trip for the winter break by himself. He hands over his keys to Kinsey and tells them that he has chosen not to use the memory key because he wants to live a normal life. Kinsey and the other Savinis hold a party for Scot before he goes off to Rochester for his film course. Ellie heads to Nebraska, where she is reunited with Rufus. Bode goes up to his mother and says that he has a gift for her, taking out the head. They go inside her head, where she's able to enjoy memorable moments of her and Grendel. She tells Bode that she wants to remember all this, so Bode decides to use the memory key on her. Eden takes the echo key from Gabe's room and goes to the well house. She summons Frederick Gideon, but once she opens up a door to the outside, using the anywhere key, he throws her into the well. He is then left to roam free and unleash chaos in this new world. Thanks for watching the recap. Don't forget to follow and like this video. See you on the next recap here on TV Glimpse.